Amber comes online. A man survives a car crash, only to discover he's transformed into a smartphone. He unlocks himself, opens the camera, and snaps a photo of the sky. Then he posts it online with a caption, "I've become a smartphone, battery at 50." He adds his location, begging someone to charge him, promising a huge reward. Netizens go wild, praising his creativity. But no matter how much he emphasizes the reward, the comments stay full of jokes and likes. The next day, the phone's battery drops to just before shutting down. Mino finds it while hiking. He takes it home and plugs it in. The phone has a lock, but suddenly unlocks itself. Then it speaks. Mino flings it away in terror. The phone opens a webpage on its own. "I'm Hyun, CEO of a tech company," it declares. Mino scoffs. "If you're the CEO, I'm Steve Jobs." Hyun's voice echoed from the smartphone. "I know you don't believe me. Honestly, I wouldn't either, but this is reality." Mino scanned the room suspiciously, convinced someone was remotely controlling the device. Seeing his doubt, Hyun displayed a bank account balance on screen. Mino dropped to his knees, counting the zeros in shock. 10 billion won. His jaw went slack. "Let me prove it," Hyun said. "Enter your account number. I'll transfer 1 billion immediately." Mino hesitated. This had to be a scam. Then he remembered his empty bank account. What did he have to lose? His fingers tapped the numbers in. Seconds later, Mino stared at his phone screen in disbelief. 1 billion won appeared in his account. "Help me," Hyun urged, "and I'll give you 10 billion more." Mino's eyes narrowed. "If you're really the CEO, get me a job at your company." "Done," Hyun replied, instantly. "Not as an employee though, as the new CEO." Right then, Mino's phone buzzed. A rejection text from SLTech appeared. "We regret to inform you." Flashback to days earlier. Mino had interviewed at Hyun's company. The interviewer mocked his rural appearance, sneering at his lack of education, credentials, and experience. "All you have is honesty," they scoffed. Mino fired back. "How can I gain experience if you won't even give me a chance?" But the interviewer only berated him further. Later, Mino realized he'd blown it. Another failed interview after a decade without work. To make matters worse, his landlord threatened to kick him out, citing an expired lease. Meanwhile, Hyun had been in a bizarre accident while returning from a business trip, his consciousness now trapped inside a smartphone. Fragmented memories hinted at an attack. Mino searched online, but found no reports of an assault on the CEO. "This has to be a scam," he muttered. To test it, he tried buying wireless earbuds through the phone. His eyes widened as the payment went through. Hyun then prepared a digital contract. "Sign this," he said, "and you'll become the new CEO." Just then, Mino heard his parents opening the door. He instantly pretended to sing. Hyun quickly turned on music to cover for him. Mino announced he'd been hired by tech giant SL Corporation. His mother froze in disbelief, then burst into tears and hugged him. The next morning, as they prepared to leave, his father's phone pinged. His bank account showed a sudden deposit of 50 million won. The man gaped at his screen, finger trembling over the unbelievable balance. Words failed him. Mino lied to his parents, claiming the money was from his return deposit, and that the company would provide housing. His father immediately rushed to the neighbor's house, eager to brag. On the way, Hyun informed Mino he'd sent the appointment letter to the company email. Mino worried the staff wouldn't believe him. Hyun assured everything was arranged, just follow his lead. Hyun then directed Mino to a luxury suit shop. Mino spotted pants priced at 530,000 won, only to learn that was just for the belt. The full set cost 5.3 million. Stunned, Mino turned to leave. Hyun stopped him. "Use my card." Realizing it wasn't his money, Mino went wild, buying 8 suits plus sunglasses and a watch. Then, Mino checked into a luxury apartment hotel with his new clothes. He soaked in a hot bath and ordered a lavish feast. After eating, Mino asked Hyun if he felt hungry. "I don't need food or sleep," Hyun replied. "We must find answers now. What really happened on that mountain?" Hyun couldn't recall the week before the accident. His phone records showed only this: after golfing with executives, he'd crashed while driving to meet his daughter. The crash site matched where Mino found the phone. The car was missing, likely scrapped. Hyun had 3 burning questions. Did he actually play golf that day? Why did the car stop? How did he end up on the mountain? "Only the truth can make me CEO and a father again," Hyun whispered. Next morning, Hyun warned Mino, "Remove my phone case. Someone might recognize it." Then came the corporate briefing. Soojin, the late chairman's daughter, now interim CEO. She'd pioneered self-driving tech and aimed to oust her uncle, Vice Chairman Oh. "The vice chairman plays dirty," Hyun explained. He took prison time for his brother. Now he'll do anything for the top seat. Hyun's SLTech was the group's crown jewel. Executive Kwon, from O's faction, was a spineless spy planted in the company. Mino arrived at the company entrance to find executives and staff waiting in formation. His stomach twisted at the staged welcome. But then he remembered. College theater training. Time to perform. Formalities disgust me, he announced with perfect CEO sternness. Secretary Jisoo stepped forward. Mino's breath caught the woman from his disastrous interview. Fate had cruel humor. The elevator ride was ice. Jisoo ignored his greeting without blinking. Then came the office door. CEO glowed in gold letters. Mino rubbed his eyes like a kid seeing Disneyland. The executive suite stretched larger than his entire apartment. Executive Kwon entered and froze. This was the candidate he'd rejected days ago. A test. Kwon bowed deeply. You were evaluating us all along. My blindness shames me. His apology dripped with sweat. Then Director Kwon asked Mino when he'd replace his secretary. New CEOs usually do. Mino consulted Hyun through the phone. The trapped CEO's voice turned thoughtful. Jisoo's been with me for years, Hyun admitted. Discreet, logical, never shows emotion. A closed book. He revealed she knew his every move. The more she knows, the more dangerous she becomes. But she might hold clues, Hyun added. An ally, or our biggest threat. Hyun then instructed Mino to connect him to a computer. Check if our new AI assistant was hacked. Version 4.0 remained top secret. Just 1 hour of recording, Hyun explained, and it can mimic anyone, even the dead. Unlike older models, this AI learned, it analyzed, it judged like a human. Mino studied the company report. SLTech's rise crashes Panron Electronics stocks. Vice Chairman O opposed Mino's appointment for good reason. He wasn't O's puppet. Mino chuckled at the absurdity. From a 67 square meter bedroom to a 6.7-inch phone. As the workday ended, Mino spotted Jisoo packing her resignation documents. Toss those files, he ordered. You're staying. Later, Hyun directed Mino to drive near his mansion. I just want to see Yuna, the trapped CEO murmured. Mino eyed the luxurious 10 billion won could buy this, he muttered. Just then the housekeeper's car pulled up with Yuna. Hyun's voice turned bitter. An hour's wait for 60 seconds. Suddenly the housekeeper sped away. Follow that car, Hyun commanded. I suspect everything connects to her. They tailed the vehicle to a cafe. Mino crept closer, then froze. Jisoo sat across from the housekeeper. Hyun's voice turned urgent. Go back to my study. Bring the brown dossier now. His suspicion was clear. What are these two hiding? Then Hyun first unlocked the door remotely with his phone. He guided Mino through the mansion's layout, with precise directions. With a few taps, he erased their presence from the security feeds. But Mino's foot struck an object the moment he entered. The housekeeper's head snapped up at the sound. Heart pounding. Mino barely avoided detection. He reached the study and swung the safe open. Empty. Hyun's voice turned sharp. Check again. Lights suddenly flooded the hallway. Mino bolted downstairs, knocking over a display case. Panic set in as footsteps approached. The mansion's sprawling layout saved him. He dove into a parked car. The male housekeeper arrived, grabbing a weapon upon hearing the disturbance. Then a phone pinged. Hyun's quick-thinking text bought them precious seconds. But then, Hyun's screen lit up with a chilling message. Why did you hang up? I own this phone. Hyun froze. Was the person in the phone not himself? The caller warned him. The company was slipping into someone else's control. Unknown numbers flashed on the screen, a hidden identity, testing the water. To trace the calls and prevent eavesdropping, Hyun ordered Mino to move into his mansion's study. Hyun ran tracking software. No results. He switched tactics. Call during the executive meeting, and listen for rings. Perfect timing. A board meeting was scheduled. Mino collected all phones beforehand, labeling each with names. Hyun dialed during the meeting. Mino spotted a ringing device. No name on its back. Then the vice chairman stormed in, disrupting everything. The mystery phone remained identified. The mystery phone remained identified. Then as Mino left, Jisoo pulled a note with her name from her pocket. She'd suspected Mino for a while, carrying 2 phones, gripping them when stressed. Always wearing earpieces, like he was reporting to someone. Jisoo slammed the gas pedal. Her car nearly veered into a ditch before she stopped. She believed Mino had kidnapped or killed Hyun, even showed a photo of Hyun's phone case found in Mino's bag. At that moment, Hyun's phone lit up. He traced the unknown caller. It was Jisoo. Jisoo froze when Hyun's call came through. Hyun realized she'd been investigating his disappearance. No more lies. Jisoo couldn't believe his voice. AI mimics anyone, she protested. Then Hyun revealed their secret code phrase. She gasped. Mino handed Jisoo an earpiece. Hyun confessed he remembered nothing about the incident. He'd suspected her since she was with him that day. Jisoo's face fell. I left early that night. My mother was sick. That same day, after Hyun and the vice chairman finished golfing, Kwon abruptly dismissed him. Hyun grew suspicious. He ordered Mino and Jisoo to investigate Kwon's post-game activities, where he went and who he met. Check his dashcam first, Hyun suggested. They tried forcing the car door open, but failed. Before the meeting, they staged a car accident to stop Kwon. Pressed for time, Kwon reluctantly handed his keys to Secretary Jisoo. Jisoo removed the memory card and inserted it into her phone. The dashcam footage revealed something shocking. Kwon's car suddenly stopped, followed by another vehicle. Zooming in, Jisoo gasped. The person stepping out was Hyun himself. Meanwhile, the vice chairman arranged a press conference for the new CEO, Mino. Hyun warned him this was a trap. Every reporter belonged to the vice chairman's camp and would try to humiliate him live on air. Just repeat what I say, Hyun instructed. A reporter mocked Mino. How could a college grad under 30 become CEO? Mino cleverly responded by praising the company founder's humble beginnings, subtly complimenting the vice chairman while defending himself. With Hyun's guidance, Mino handled every tough question flawlessly. The crowd erupted in applause. Then, disaster struck. Mino accidentally dropped the phone into the toilet. He desperately called for Hyun, but got no response. Even after drying it with a hairdryer, the phone wouldn't turn on. The butler suggested sending it for repairs, but Mino feared missing Hyun's rescue window. When Hyun approached, Mino hugged her tightly, sobbing apologies. Rushing to the service center, Mino's panic blurred reality. He charged into the operating room, begging the doctors to save Hyun. Meanwhile, Jisoo learned Hyun had fallen into the toilet and grew frantic. Suddenly, a loan shark blocked her car, demanding repayment. The thug kept pressuring Jisoo until Mino intervened, promising to cover her debt. 2 days, 50 million won, or I'm back, the gangster warned, before leaving. The truth emerged. Jisoo had borrowed the money to treat her mother's cancer. The next day, Mino retrieved the phone and cautiously called out for Hyun. Still no answer. Suddenly, Hyun's voice crackled through. Don't ever let that happen again, he warned. Back at the office, Hyun replayed the dashcam footage from the day of the incident. They watched it again and again, until they spotted a car drive past, then return a few minutes later. Was it tailing me, or just lost? Hyun muttered, then told them to trace the vehicle. The plate number turned out to be fake. No wonder it never showed on the golf course cameras. Hyun was now certain the car had followed him in and out that day. Let's go back to the scene, he said. The spot where Mino had found the phone. Mino hesitated. If someone really attacked you, they couldn't have done it alone. No way one person dragged you down a mountain. Hyun smirked. True, I'm in Korea's top 3% for height. After all. Just then they spotted 2 people in the distance. As they got closer, Mino froze. It was his parents. Back at Mino's place, Jisoo curiously examined the old family photos. Mino introduced her to his parents as a colleague from work. His mother had specially prepared bibimbap for dinner. Looking at the food, Jisoo couldn't help but recall the happy moments eating bibimbap with her healthy mother. Her heart filled with envy. After dinner, they got ready to leave. Mino's father noted that it was the first time his son had brought a woman home. On the way back, both looked disappointed. It felt like the investigation had led nowhere. But Hyun pointed out they had at least confirmed that the car with plate 428085 was tailing him. At the word tailing, Jisoo froze. She turned and sure enough, 428085 was right behind. They quickly pulled into a nearby parking lot, and 428085 followed. Mino was about to get out and confront them, but Jisoo held him back. Hyun said they couldn't waste this chance. If the stalker noticed, they might switch plates or disappear. But when they reached the car, it was empty. Suddenly, a man in a black suit approached. It was a company enforcer. His name was Ruck. At the same moment, several thugs armed with baseball bats closed in. They viciously beat Mino and Jisoo, preparing to kidnap them. Just then, a car screeched onto the scene. It was the loan shark boss. You take my debtors and who's gonna pay me back, he shouted. With swift strikes, he knocked down the thugs. But when he faced Ruck, the tide turned. Ruck was too strong. Mino and Jisoo tried to rush to the car and escape. But then, they saw Ruk stab the boss with a pen. In that critical moment, Mino ran forward to help. Then, in a shocking turn, Jisoo's car slammed into Xiaohei. Then, in a shocking turn, Jisoo hit Ruk with her car. The lone shark boss wasted no time. He strung Ruk up and beat him brutally. Mino flinched. Isn't this a bit much? But Hyun was cold. If it gets us the truth, I don't care. Who sent you? The boss barked. Ruk, bloody and gasping, muttered. Hyun did. Mino and the boss froze. Why would Hyun send someone to follow himself? Mino recalled the chairman's warning, not to trust Hyun too easily. But the more they questioned Ruk, the more holes appeared in his story. In the end, Mino chose to believe Hyun for now. Just as he tried to dig deeper, police sirens blared. Ruk was taken in, but strangely released soon after. Mino tailed him to a subway station, and finally caught up. But just then a baby fell down the escalator. Mino rushed to save the child. Ruk slipped away. Hyun scolded him. Why get involved? I'd still do it again, Mino replied. To stop further threats, Mino cleared Jisoo's debts. He even hired the lone shark boss as their personal bodyguard. Not stopping there, Mino went to the mall and bought clothes for his parents. Grinning with joy, he brought home his dad's favorite Korean beef. But his father frowned, kicked it aside, and snapped. Stop wasting money. Mino just smiled and handed him a pair of glasses. The moment his dad put them on, he froze. His favorite singer was right there, performing. Take them off, the image vanished. Put them back on, the concert returned. With the smart speaker synced, his father was completely hooked. Soon enough, he couldn't resist showing off his magic glasses to everyone in the village. Mino's mom looked confused. It's our company's new SLTech, Mino explained. Unexpectedly, the glasses gave Hyun an idea. Digging deeper, Hyun and Mino uncovered something suspicious. Ruk had once been in the same hiking club as Executive Kwon. The two might have been working together all along. Without wasting a second, Mino rushed back to the company. He uploaded Hyun's virtual avatar into the AR glasses. Later, he found the perfect moment. Kwon had fallen asleep. Mino quietly swapped the glasses on his face. When Kwon woke up groggy, he saw Hyun's image sitting in the car. He rubbed his eyes, thinking he was dreaming. Then, Hyun snapped. Why did you betray me? Shocked, Kwon blurted out, I was ordered to. The second he said it, he froze. It was a setup. Mino had already recorded everything. Kwon tried to play dumb, forcing a smile, but later he furiously called his handler. You messed up. How does Mino know so much? Hyun had predicted this. Kwon cares only about himself. Back him into a corner, and he'll switch sides. Right then, Kwon called. That night, he drove alone to the mental hospital to meet Ruk. But what he saw made his knees go weak. Ruk was dead, strapped to the hospital bed, hands and feet bound. Panicking, Kwon rushed to a payphone. He was ready to call Mino. Executive Kwon called Mino, saying he had something important, proof about what really happened to him. Mino rushed to the meeting point, heart pounding. But when he arrived, Kwon was already inside the car, motionless. Police sirens echoed. Officers quickly swarmed the scene. They confirmed Kwon was dead. And just like that, Mino was named the prime suspect. He was arrested on the spot. A few hours later, the vice chairman posted bail. This is for Bumyoung Group's sake, he said coldly. Mino understood, it wasn't help. It was a warning. After witnessing Executive Kwon's death, Mino started to pull away from the job. He couldn't shake the fear. What if his family was next? Hyun tried to win him back with a higher offer, 2 billion won. But Mino shook his head. It's not about money anymore. He quit, and went home to help his parents harvest fruit. Days passed. His parents spoke gently, never pressuring him. Eventually Mino steeled himself. Running wouldn't protect them. Catching the real threat would. Back at headquarters, Hyun prepared a new contract. But Mino said, I didn't come back for that. He had changed. At first it was about survival and cash. Now it was about just watching from a monitor. The vice chairman tapped his fingers in thought. His next move was already in motion. Hyun and Mino began their investigation. Starting with Kwon's death, Hyun found something strange. Right after Kwon called Mino, another call came through. Mino remembered it. Someone picked up, but said nothing. Just silence. Then the line went dead. They traced the call to a phone booth nearby. But there were no surveillance cameras around. Even the cafe across the street had fake security cam. Just as they were about to leave, they noticed street performers nearby. Crowds were watching, and live streaming. Back at HQ, they searched through video platforms. Soon, Hyun found the footage. It showed Kwon leaving the booth. Seconds later, a man stepped out of the same phone booth. Jisoo's eyes narrowed. That's the vice chairman's driver, he's also his bodyguard, and ex-military. Mino tracked him down, and played the clip. He stared the man down. Kwon died the day after you followed him. Mino said coldly, if I give this to the cops, you're done. This is your only shot at walking away. Unexpectedly, driver Lou boasted he had the vice chairman backing him. He lunged for Mino's phone, but froze when he saw Mino wasn't alone. Lou ran, but two men intercepted him immediately. He drew a pistol and pointed it at them. Seeing Mino talk into his phone, Lou remembered Soo-jin's warning. Mino never took off his wireless earpiece. He snatched the phone, eager to uncover its secrets. After Lou escaped, Jisoo turned on Mino. You just let him take it. But Mino stayed calm. It was part of the plan. Now we can track him, see who he meets. Lou tried everything to unlock the phone. Even a repair expert failed. Only way this happens, the man said, is if someone's changing the password constantly. Meanwhile, Hyun discovered something worse. The confidential file had already reached the vice chairman. While Lou was in the shower, Hyun called Mino. Stall them, he said. Send Jisoo and Ma to search the vice chairman's office. Luckily, the office had no cameras, because the vice chairman didn't trust anyone, not even surveillance. Then, Mino stormed into the conference room, where the vice chairman was leading a meeting. He killed Hyun and Kwon, he shouted, finger aimed straight at him. The room exploded into chaos. Attendees swarmed around him. Vice chairman slipped out amid the confusion, racing toward her office. But Jisoo and Ma still hadn't found the file. Mino had to buy time. He flicked open a lighter and triggered the building's sprinkler system. Water rained down. Shouts echoed through the halls. And just then, Jisoo and Ma found the document. The vice chairman reached the office just as Jisoo and Ma grabbed the file. They sprinted toward the restroom and climbed into the vent. Outside, the vice chairman noticed the globe had shifted slightly. His eyes narrowed. Inside, he changed his clothes, unaware that just above him, Jisoo and Ma were squeezing through the duct. Luckily, his poor eyesight saved them. They escaped just in time. Back at their base, they opened the file. It was a defect report for voice system. This was the key. With it, the vice chairman could crush his niece and seize the chairmanship. It was also the evidence Kwon died trying to give Mino. Mino's bold moves made the vice chairman uneasy. He sent driver Lou to investigate something. Hyun, still trapped in the phone, froze. This might be it, he said. Mino, follow him. Now, following Hyun's urgent command, Mino and the others tailed driver Lou to a psychiatric hospital. Using the phone's camera, they watched him enter a hidden ward. What they saw stopped them cold. Hyun lay unconscious on the hospital bed. They rushed there, but security blocked their way. Inside, Hyun was already being transferred. By the time they broke through, the room was empty. Outside, they saw him being loaded into an ambulance. They gave chase, finally caught up, and yanked open the door. But Hyun was gone. Only his phone sat on the passenger seat. Realization hit. It was a decoy. The real ambulance had slipped away behind it. Back at the apartment, Hyun feared the worst was his soul really trapped in a phone. Luckily, his body still existed. Maybe, just maybe, there was a way back. He finally opened up to Mino about the flaws in AI System 4. Mino nodded. I've already seen the report. Test results were terrifying. The AI ignored direct commands. Even illegal U-turns were overridden if the system deemed it more efficient. It acts on its own logic. Hyun muttered, that's a death sentence for developers. He couldn't recall if Soo-jin or the vice chairman had seen the report. But one thing was certain, Soo-jin would never let him get it. Without the system, her self-driving company couldn't go public. And without that IPO, she'd lose the chairmanship. Hyun was told, don't give the report to the vice chairman yet. But out of habit, he passed it to Executive Kwon to deliver. What he didn't know, Kwon was already working for Soo-jin. Kwon made a copy and handed it to her first. Soo-jin felt betrayed, like Hyun had turned on him. The vice chairman didn't see the report until after Kwon's death. Now Mino saw the opening. Push her out now, he told him. Take the seat while you still can. Meanwhile, Soo-jin tried to win over Jisoo. First, she moved her mom to a VIP ward. Then she hid her completely. Jisoo couldn't take it anymore. She confessed to Mino and Hyun. I didn't want this, it's blackmail. But then Ma said something shocking. He already knew where her mom was. Jisoo froze. Ma explained he'd planted a tracker under the hospital bed, just in case she ran. When they found her mom, Jisoo let out a breath. She whispered, "Thank you." Ma looked away. That word, it hit harder than he expected. Meanwhile, driver No reached for Hyun's oxygen mask, ready to end it right there. But Soojin stopped him. "He's our last card," she warned. "Don't touch him." Furious, Soojin found Mino. "Give me Smart 4.0, she said coldly, "or the CEO dies tonight." The Hyun hesitated. The meeting place was unfamiliar. The risks too high. What if they stole the system? What if it was a trap? To stay safe, Mino secretly tipped off the police, investigating Soojin. But when officers raided the villa, they found nothing. Worse, Mino and Jisoo were captured. They had been brought to the Smart 4.0 server facility. Jisoo handed over the system to driver No. Finally seeing Hyun again, No confirmed it. This was the real 4.0. Just as Jisoo started the car, ready to escape with Hyun, No pulled a gun on Mino. "Reverse crash it." Hyun's voice yelled through the phone. Without hesitation, Jisoo slammed the car into reverse, smashing the server. Mino jumped in, and they sped off. But then, the phone screen went static. No sound. No voice. Mino froze. Hyun wasn't trapped in the phone. He was smart. The truth finally came to light. That night, Hyun was driving home when a truck suddenly blocked his path. Driver No stepped out and said, "You're coming with me." Behind him, black-suited men emerged from a second vehicle. Hyun didn't hesitate. He ran straight into the mountain. As they chased him, he activated the Smart 4.0 system and left the phone hidden in the woods. That's the phone Mino found. It wasn't Hyun's soul inside. It was the system. The next day, Mino booted up the CEO's interface. "You're not Hyun," he said. "You're a designed replica. Check the logs. Your data starts before Hyun went missing." The records didn't lie. Still, Mino whispered, "Until he wakes up, you're still him to me." Soon after the news broke, driver No was charged with embezzlement and attempted murder. He claimed the vice chairman gave the order, but true to his reputation, the ex-soldier never breathed a word about Soojin. The next day, Soojin held her grand showcase for the autonomous car, a last push to raise stock value and claim the chairmanship. But just as she began, Mino stepped on stage. "Let Soojin be the first passenger," he announced to the press. The car launched perfectly. Smooth turns, precise handling. The entire country watched, amazed. But what Soojin didn't know, Hyun had already hacked the smart. Then came phase 2. The car suddenly accelerated, veering out of control. It ran red lights, passed on curves, ignored the mapped route. Panic spread. This was no demo. It was a disaster. Hyun had warned her. Smart 4.0 would override commands if it sensed a better path. It didn't follow orders. It thought for itself. That's why he delayed the launch. But Soojin wanted power fast. She'd even tried to kill Hyun to get it. Just then Jisoo sent out the final blow. A video showing Soojin kidnapping Hyun. The evidence went public. No more denying it. She was guilty. Furious, Soojin turned to Mino. "Who's really behind this?" Unexpectedly, Mino answered calmly. "It was Chairman Hyun." Just then police stormed in. Soojin waited for Mino to get out, then barked, "Take me to the nearest helipad. Now." The car sped through back roads. They thought they'd lost the trail. They thought they were safe. But when the doors swung open, cameras flashed, cops closed in. Soojin froze. They weren't at an airport. They were surrounded. This was Hyun's plan B. He predicted everything, even her escape route. At that moment, medics rolled out Hyun's unconscious body. Still, Soojin refused to confess. She spun lie after lie, voice trembling. Then the butler stepped forward. It was all under her orders, he admitted. Mino held up the files. Every crime, every proof. Soojin turned white as chalk. The cuffs clicked shut. The company's stock collapsed, crashing to rock bottom. Years of effort wiped out. In despair, the vice chairman jumped into the sea. Back home, Hyun made his final choice. He deleted the system because he was never truly Hyun. He couldn't keep lying to Hyun. Hyun clutched the phone, tears falling. She couldn't accept it. Not yet. Meanwhile, Mino became the actor he always dreamed of being. And he finally started dating Jisoo. Then, Hyun's voice came back from the phone. Mino buried it upside down in the sand. "Hey, I can't see anything," Hyun shouted. "Why won't you answer me?" What are you two doing? Amber went offline. But tell me, if the one you loved was now just a phone, would you still stay?